domestic violence, stalking, or possibly elder abuse. So if a landlord violates your privacy as a tenant or harasses you, sometimes these situations happen. So in this video, I'm gonna break down 4 legitimate reasons that tenants can actually end a lease early without penalty in California, what the law actually says about lease breaks, and how to break your lease the right way if you have to do it. My name is Steve Welty. I'm the CEO of Good Life Property Management, where our mission is to make owning rental property easy for you. Please hit that subscribe button for expert rental property tips just like these. Breaking a lease in California, it's not as simple as handing over the keys and walking away. Whether you're a tenant facing an unexpected move or a landlord dealing with a sudden vacancy, understanding the ins and outs of lease termination can save you thousands of dollars. All right, first, let's talk about California law. So in our state, a lease is a binding contract between a tenant and a landlord. However, there are 4 legitimate reasons a tenant can break a lease. So number 1, military duty. If you're called to active military service, under the Service Members Civil Relief Act, SCRA, active duty military members have special rights regarding lease termination. So if you're a service member who receives orders for a permanent change of station, otherwise known as PCS orders, or deployment for 90 days or more, you could possibly terminate your lease without penalty. Now, always check with appropriate professionals, your attorney. Number 2 is habitability issues. So if the rental unit is unlivable and the landlord's just not making necessary repairs, you could potentially break your lease. And here's why. So landlords are required to provide a habitable unit that meets certain safety standards. It's known as implied warrant of habitability. This includes safe and working utilities, proper plumbing, heating, electrical systems, structural integrity of the walls, the roofs must be free from leaks and damage. Sanitary conditions, generally free of pests and mold, other health hazards, functioning locks and doors on the windows. Now, this does not go for just your everyday repair or a leak one time. You have to give your landlord a reasonable amount of time to fix these things. Typically, it's 30 days. Number 3 is if you're a victim of abuse. So domestic violence, stalking, or possibly elder abuse. California law protects tenants who are victims of these, as well as sexual assault, stalking. In the sad case this is happening, the steps to terminate the lease look like this. Providing the landlord with a written notice stating you are a victim and wish to terminate the lease. You're gonna need to provide proof of abuse, including one of the following, like a copy of a restraining order, a police report filed within the last 180 days, or documentation from a licensed medical or mental health professional, or potentially a victim advocate verifying the abuse. Now, you're gonna be responsible for rent generally up to 14 days after giving notice, and the landlord has to keep this confidential. So make sure landlords keep this information confidential. Number 4 is landlord harassment or privacy violation. So if a landlord violates your privacy as a tenant or harasses you, sometimes these situations happen, you are granted what's known as quiet enjoyment of the property when you rent a property. So if if a landlord's making unauthorized entry without giving proper notice, excessive visits, potentially shutting off your utilities, lockouts, threats of intimidation. This is very rare, but it's good to know for people that are actually victims of really bad landlords in this case. You do have rights and remedies. So number 1, you want to keep detailed records of all occurrences, including dates, times, and descriptions. Written communication, so communicate your concerns to the landlord in writing. Like, hey, sometimes people are old school and they're doing things a certain way, and you need to let them know that you don't like that they're stopping by the property, let's say. And so if they continue this kind of harassment, you could potentially terminate the lease. You'd want to seek legal counsel. In some cases, we've seen people have to get a restraining order and whatnot, but that's very uncommon. So in summary, if you're a tenant and need to break your lease, the best thing to do is notify your landlord, be very communicative, pick an option either to move out, have them re-rent the property, and once the tenant moves in, you won't be responsible for the rent anymore, or pay the early lease break fee, which basically says, hey, this is the fee I'm paying. I know what my downside is now. Thank you for joining me today. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more useful tips. Feel free to also leave questions or comments in the comment section below, and I'll make sure to answer them. Until next time.